change that we need. Keep your mind alert and your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah, go and share your gift. Yeah, your gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and fill your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mentality Unchained. I am your host, Kevin Thomas, the therapist. First off, before we get into the podcast with my special guest today, I want to thank all of my 1,500 subscribers. I appreciate you. I love you. Keep clicking on the links. Just keep following me, and I'm going to keep putting out good content for you. I appreciate you. I just wanted to get on here and just let you know that I appreciate you. Well, look, today is a special day. I say that all the time, right? But this is really a special day. Like, I met this young man, he came to one of my conferences, and man, from that day forward, we just kind of been really chopping it up. We did a men's conference together, and I thought it was a real great experience. And so this brother has been doing stuff in the community, and so I just asked that you guys welcome Denezz HyphenX Cochran.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, man. HyphenX.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming through. I really wanted to sit down and chop it up with you off work schedule, right? Because we always going back and forth.
Always.
And so I always say that I work a lot, but you got many hats, right?
Head big.
Yeah, and so for the people that don't know, HyphenX, man, he's an entrepreneur, he's a photographer, he's a fellow podcaster, he's an author. Did I miss anything, or is it more?
Musical talent. I got about 5 mixtapes out.
Okay.
You said author, entrepreneur, photographer, videographer, father, community activist, community advocate, child advocate.
All of that, right?
All
man, his podcast is the Great Conversation Podcast. Man, follow him wherever you can follow his podcast. So I thank you for putting out that. I hadn't yet to come on, but I'm coming on. I'm setting my own date.
Yeah, we're gonna get you on that.
Right.
Solo act.
Yeah, so you and I, we did the last men's conference, and it was epic to have men come out and just open up and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, talk about what life they're dealt with in life, period. And I know for me, from being a therapist, it's hard to deal with black men because they don't show up. They're not there. You know what I'm saying? And so I find it very rare for someone to talk about their past and their traumas and stuff like that. I know you and I did a demonstration, and I wanted to really capitalize on that demonstration that we did about the generational trauma piece. Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, I'm just gonna jump in because at the end of the day, I want people to know that real men, have trauma, and deal with certain situations in their adulthood that, when they were a kid, they didn't even dream of, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about that. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about your background, man.
Almost got the typical black male story. Grew up. My grandparents raised me. I'm the oldest of 3 children. My mom and my dad both were addicted to drugs. My dad also addicted to alcohol. In and out of prison. I was very quiet, well-mannered.
Okay.
Didn't have much confidence.
Okay.
I was a good. I say this a lot. I tell my sons that I was a good house slave. I was quiet, well mannered.
Yeah.
But then when you release me, I would find my crew. Gotcha. And that's where I would do most of my opening up and being vulnerable to my crew, but in using anger, opposed to common sense.
Gotcha.
To do things.
So, like, looking back on it now, though, like, where do you think a lot of that anger and silence kind of stem from?
Acceptance. Not feeling like I was accepted by my parents. Not thinking I was accepted by my grandparents. Now, even though my grandparents took me in, they were just doing what they're supposed to do.
Gotcha.
My grandparents were done raising kids. My mom is the youngest of their kids.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? And it's 9 years separating her and her next to kin. So when they got us, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, they're taking care of us, they're doing this, but you got that generation gap. So there's things that's happening that they're not understanding, and things that's happening with me. I just want my daddy. You know what I'm saying? I want my mom. You know, it reminds me of a story. I was crying on the side of the bed. I'll never forget this. I was crying my eyes out, and I remember my grandmother kind of nudging my pawpaw, you know, like go in there and talk to him, you know.
Wow.
Pawpaw comes in, he sits down, you know. We fresh out of church too, so he got, you know, his tie, his suspenders on. He sits down, and I was just like, you know, Dad was supposed to like take me to go get ice cream or something. He was supposed to do something with me. He didn't come, and I was just like, Dad was supposed to do this. You know what? But Papa, you know what? You're my dad. You know what I'm saying? My papa looked me dead in my face. He said, no, Dean's your dad.
Wow.
I'm your grandfather.
Wow.
You know, and ever since then, I had a different respect for my grandfather. Because, you know, I'm thinking it's supposed to be like everything I've seen off TV.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He says, yeah, come here, son, hugs me. We go to Baskin Robbins, you know what I'm saying? I start calling, now he's not Papa and Granny, it's Mom and Dad, you know?
Yeah.
No, he said, we're going to operate in reality, you know, and we have to deal with the reality. I hate him. No, you don't hate him, because if you hated him, you wouldn't be here crying. You wouldn't be searching for things. Like, you love your father. That's your dad. You're gonna respect him. So shout out to XL Lewis, man. He really kept it 1,000 with me.
Wow, man, I can definitely appreciate it. I was raised by my grandparents too, so I know what that feeling is like. My grandfather never did that. He never even came and sat down and told me that. You know, I knew he loved me, but he didn't wrap his arms around me and do this. But he showed me a lot of things just by doing, right?
Yeah.
And that, I think that's what we do. Sometimes we just pick up on that. But like, how did you deal with that coming out of the home where it felt like it was broken, right?
Yeah.
Like no mom, no dad, grandfather keeping it real with you, and now you got to deal with society. You got to go out to school. You got to deal with other people. How did you manage all of those emotions, man?
Man, like, school for me was like my world. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even talking about education. I'm talking about socially.
Yeah.
Because all I did was go to school, go to church, go home. That was it. So when I was at school, it was like a getaway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I knew I had good morals. Everyone knew I was a good kid, but I was still sad. I was so sad coming up. There's a picture on my Facebook. It's a picture of my mom, my dad, and myself. I had to be about maybe anywhere between 1 to 2 years old. And I look at that picture and I put a caption on it and I said, this is one of the few pictures I have in my childhood where I'm smiling. I'm 1 or 2 years old, and I'm talking about this is one of the pictures that I have that I'm smiling as a child. And that was because my mom and my dad were there. You know, I was the oldest, so you know, you can attest to this. Your grandparents, like, they really understood that you're the oldest.
Yep.
So you in charge,
right?
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm in charge, but I ain't got no real guidance. I'm like, I was raised underneath the banner of you supposed to know better. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you acting like this? I know you know that. I used to get that before I got a whooping. I know you know better. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, well, no one ever told me not to. But like, that whole other generation, my grandfather was like, well, I know you got common sense. I put you in church. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're a star student in church. You know what I'm saying? You get all the gold stars. You're good in the Bible Bowl. So I know you know all these moral things, but he didn't directly teach me those things. Gotcha. He put me in an environment to learn. I craved discipline, and I craved it from an authority figure. Looking back on it, you know, and I just wanted someone to guide me, take me under the arm. That followed me into college. You know, that followed me into my marriage. You know, always reaching out to men. You know what I'm saying? Always reaching out to men. Like, hey, I remember one time being at a church I was going to in DeKalb. And I was just like, hey, I'm here. I'm looking for a mentor to help me embrace manhood. no one came for me. Nobody came for me. They shunned me. So now I'm out of that circle. You know, so to answer your question in a roundabout way.
No, this good. I appreciate that.
My lack of confidence I didn't have confidence in self. So I knew who I was, but I didn't know how to cultivate who I was.
Wow. So you long for that man figure in your life.
Yeah. Even
though you had a grandfather in the house.
Yeah.
I think then that's where we're similar. You know, I don't think I thought in depths of what you thought. To be honest with you, I think I was just like just happy to be somewhere. Right. Yeah. Somewhere that I felt loved, somewhere where I felt like I can call home. Right. Whether or not they gave it to me outwardly, I just knew the love was there, right? And so I appreciate you though, because you were able to realize that you really need those male figures. Now I had a lot of cousins and stuff growing up, but at the same time, it wasn't the same as a father figure. I always say, if my father was still alive and I had a relationship with him, how would I turn out? Would I be different? And I would say that I'm saying that because I had to fight through so much to be the person that I am today. And so it came easy to some people because their father was there to kind of cultivate and show them. I'll often revert back to one episode that I did with a young lady, and she said that when I got to be 18, mom said, okay, now it's time for you to get out. And she said, well, all my life you told me to stay in the kid's place, and so you never taught me.
Right.
And so when I got ready to get out, I didn't know how to live and function. Like, what do I do with this adulthood? Like, I don't know. So I think that's awesome, but at the same time, you finding yourself. How long did it take? Well, let me back up. What about your siblings, your younger siblings? How was that relationship like? Were you big brother? Were you always leading? How did that?
So my brother is maybe 2-3 years younger than me. You know, you get older, you start forgetting numbers. So he's like 2-3 years younger than me. And then my sister, she's 9 years younger than me. Oh, wow. So, man, that's a whole. Okay, so coming up, I was mean to my brother. Yep. I was very mean to my brother, but not in a bully type way. Like, for example, we'll play video games. Not good at video games. My brother, super genius at video games. Yeah. I'm throwing controllers. You know what I'm saying? I'm mad. I'm punching walls because I'm losing. And I put my brother in this predicament, and I said, we're going to play again. I bet not lose, but you bet not let me win. What do you do with that?
What are you going to do with that?
So that caused my brother to, later on in life, to this day, he'd be hesitant to work with me.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? He will.
Yeah.
But I know that I put my brother through some trauma. You know what I'm saying? He'd be a little hesitant to work with me because of how I was when I was a child. You know what I'm saying? They used to make me the boss all the time. So I thought being the boss meant like, you know, making people do, you know, what it is that you want them to do, opposed to putting them in the right place to be successful. Yeah. You know, so a lot of force. But when I graduated high school, I used college to run away from home.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I used it to run away. So I went to college. I was gone from the house about a good 10, 11 years. I would visit every so often. It started off every weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then it went once a month. Right. And then like, hey, I'll get out there when I can. Yeah. This is my life out here.
Right.
I'm a prodigal son out here. I'm getting it in.
Yeah.
You know, and me and my brother, my brother is the only person that when I'm really feeling down, I can just go sit in a room with him and I'm better. Okay. Like, me and my brother were almost raised like we were twins. You know what I'm saying? You know, matching clothes, all that good stuff. But it affected us. Now my sister believes that when I went to college, I left her. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I was like, I went to college. You know what I'm saying? She's like, you left me for 10 years and this, that, and other. So it did cause a disconnect, you know. But I was trying to save me. I was no good to anyone in the condition that I was in. Right. Like, everyone always wanted me around, but I was so sad. Like, I don't even like to use the word depressed, because I know the exact emotion I was.
Yeah.
I was sad. When I punched them walls, I wasn't angry.
Yeah.
I was sad.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted my family. Like, I wanted me, my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister. That's it.
Yeah.
We have never all just lived underneath the same roof at the same time. You know, to this day, I'm almost 40. You know, and I still crave that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Really?
I
Your mom and dad still alive?
Well, my dad passed. Okay. But my mom is still alive.
Wow.
And so, but it's been a very long time since we've all stayed under the same roof. Yeah. I'm just thinking about it now. Very long, maybe 6th grade. Like, and I'm talking, when I say 6th grade, I'm talking about maybe week 2 here, a month there. You know what I'm saying? Mom turned her life around, but now instead of drugs, she's a workaholic. You know what I'm saying? So now, you know, that addiction has been replaced with work. Absolutely. And now she's doing her thing, working, and now we're still being raised by our grandparents. And then grandparents' rules a little different. Like, you come in the house, you gotta be quiet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Papa's studying for the Bible. Like, he's a preacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, he don't need all that noise. My granny's like, no, you can't go outside by yourself. You know what I'm saying?
So your grandpops was a preacher.
Yes.
And your mom and your dad were on drugs. Like, how does that work?
Man, so it was very tough. I grew up in the Church of Christ, and when I say Church of Christ, we talked about hell, fire, brimstone all the time. Mm-hmm. So when I hear my grandfather in the pulpit, I hear other members of people we would deem uncles or things of that nature in the pulpit, and I hear them preaching about these worldly people, you know what I'm saying, that are hooked on drugs, in and out of jail, making bad decisions. If they were to die in the state that they're in today, they will be going to hell. The pictures that pop in my head: mom, dad, hellbound. All my friends, hellbound. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. That's a lot of pressure. Yeah. But then, me and my friends have a running joke. I was like, you know, back then I believed that all y'all was going to hell, but I never tried to save y'all, man. I never tried to save y'all, man. Like, I was having too much fun with you. Yeah. But I still had my get out of free card in my pocket. Right. But it made me, man, especially my dad, like, because, like, my mom would get right, you know what I'm saying? She'll start going to church and this, that, and the other. So I'm like, she's good. But then my dad, I was like, he's only doing this because of her, and he's going to go to hell. I can't respect you going to hell. Like, why are you talking to me like this? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was a conflict for me. Because here I am trying to be a good Christian, you know what I'm saying, for what my child belief of what a good Christian is. Yeah. But then I see my father and my mother living these sinful lives that my grandfather, her father is preaching about, you know what I'm saying, other people are preaching down about, and then everyone's telling me that my mom and my dad are sick, you know what I'm saying, like, they're sick. There's no, like, no, my grandmother would say, it's not, your mom wouldn't be doing that if she wasn't with your dad, you know what I'm saying, but we all make our own choices. Yeah. Like, it was contradicting, like, the lesson that was being taught and then what I was being shown were two different things. Yeah. So it was very dueling for me.
Yeah, I think that's the conflict now, though, looking back at it and seeing the imbalance of how things were when we were kids, and just being in it. We didn't know exactly what it was. We couldn't label it. We just knew that something wasn't right. Right. And looking back on it now, it's like, oh wow, now. So with that, now let's fast forward to. Let's talk about some generational trauma. Like, all of that stuff that transpired that we just went through, how is that affecting, or how did that affect Denezz?
I got this line in one of my songs that I say that, Mr. Make It Happen, try to force it and collapse it. So I used to go by a moniker, Mr. Make It Happen. When I talk about force, I'm talking about forcing relationships, getting into new relationships and acting like you've been together for years. Wow. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about you only been together 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, how long have you guys been together?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They think you've been together for a very long time because of what I wanted, I made it with someone else.
Are you talking about like romantic relationships?
Romantic,
okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about, this can be friendships.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll have friends and people will think that we've been knowing each other for 10, 20 years. I've been knowing this guy for 6 months.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been knowing this guy for 6 months. You know, it's just that it makes you value relationships differently, but you bring your toxicity into it because you're forcing this relationship to be what you want this relationship to be. For example, so I got with my ex-wife, and when I got with her, she had 2 kids. They were 1 and 2, and we got together. Everything's good. I never wanted to leave her because in her children I saw me and my brother.
Wow.
So I didn't want to be. My mom used to have boyfriends. You know what I'm saying? And we'll get close to the boyfriend, and then like he's no more. I didn't want to be that guy. So here I am. I remember when I was going through my awakening, I had to be like 21, 22, and I was going through it. I was like, oh my God, I'm dating my mom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm dating my mom. Like, here's this woman with 2 boys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is the recipe. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to leave because I don't want to be like Daryl. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be like Sam. Mom, I'm not saying your guys' real names.
Right.
But I don't want that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like I would stay. So it made me stay in situations that were really not good for me, but I found the good in the situation, so I could stay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it made me not deal in reality. It made me deal in a fantasy from what I wanted to have because I didn't have it.
Whew.
Yeah.
That's heavy, man.
Yeah.
That's heavy. So then, from the kids' perspective, though, if you're forcing it, how do you think they perceived you? How do you think that kind of worked out?
I think in the beginning it was just like, because here I am, I'm supplying a need for them as well.
Yeah.
I just think it's natural to crave 2 parents.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, yes. You know what I'm saying? Yes, dad's here. This is our dad. He's here. Da 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 da. But then as the years go on, like, dad's not happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, dad's happy, but when mom comes around, like they're not even really speaking to each other. Or if they're speaking to each other, it's like World War III in here.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it does affect them. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, I don't live by that same principle anymore. If you're not happy, why would you want your kids to see you unhappy?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I do believe that you should try. I believe in counseling, but those things only work if both parties are willing to work.
Gotcha.
And if only one side is working, me or her, we need to work at the same time. So it just wasn't good. So it did lead to a very toxic household. Before I knew it, I was acting like my dad.
Really?
Like out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm talking about livid. I'm mad. I'm drinking Ice House. I'm acting just like the man who I'm claiming to hate, who I'm claiming to deem irresponsible. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Here I am affecting these children. They're not even mine biologically. So here's trauma from my generation, my bloodline, that I'm infecting and injecting into a whole nother generation that's not even my bloodline. Yeah. It was, my awakening period was deep. Like I didn't need to be in a relationship in my awakening period. Really? Like, because you know how you awaken to a truth, and then now you have to deal with that emotion of that truth. Yeah. But I'm not mature enough to deal with that emotion. Right. So I'm lashing out on the ones around me. That was my nucleus, the family. So yeah, it was, man, it really affected me, and it affected others around me, the ones I loved.
So in you affecting the ones that around you, especially your wife at the time. Yeah. Like, how was she taking it? Like, how is she dealing with that? Did she take blame? Did she say, okay, yeah, it's my fault, or he's got a real problem? What was her take on all this?
She thought I was crazy.
Okay. At
first, because I was talking about, before there was 23andMe, man, I was going through the lineage. You know what I'm saying? One day she came home, I had a manic episode. I just had papers, notebooks everywhere. And I wasn't working. Paper everywhere, written out, back, front. what I think happened to me versus what I found out on the internet and how far our family history goes and this, that, and the other, because she has her own traumas that she has to deal with. Like, her mother died when she was 9. You know what I'm saying? So like, she has her own trauma. So you have a man who, well, I'm gonna say this, a male that is in a father-husband role who grew up without a father, and then you have a mother who's in a woman-wife mode who grew up without her biological mother. Yeah. And now we're supposed to be expected to come together and be these great parents. Yeah. Didn't work. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. You know, it doesn't work like that. So, man, like for her, man, I always say this, like, we're both good people. We just weren't good for each other. You know, we're both good people. We're good for each other. And like my church hurt and church drama, and she was really engulfed into the church and whatnot. So like I couldn't really latch on to that. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't really latch on to that. But that was her life, her bread, her butters, what she wanted to happen for her. So that caused a wedge. You know, so we never were able to just have a disagreement, speak about it, and be cool. Right. If we had a disagreement, it had to be a knockout, drag out. It's somebody getting kicked out the crib every time. Every time.
So do you think that timing also plays a part? Because like now we'll get into that too, but now you've evolved, and I don't know where she's at, but like, do you feel that the timing of it was all wrong too? Because you guys, if you were more mature, like you are now, you probably could have made it work.
I think that if we would have met later on in life, then we probably would have just been great friends or business associates. I don't think we should have ever been romantic with each other, because we found each other in a very vulnerable time in our lives, and so we shouldn't have just kept pushing. You know, just serve it for that moment. You know what I'm saying, and then move on. Before we had our kids, because by the time we had my kids, you know what I'm saying, I was just like, okay, like I'm out. You know, like it's time to go. Yeah. But if we would have waited, maturity, timing, I think it all plays a factor. But at the exact same time, I have no regrets because everything I went through made me who I am today. The potter is never mad at the clay for taking the heat. You know what I'm saying? So I took the heat, and now I'm beautiful. I'm a beautiful ceramic pottery set made and molded by the creation of God's hand, and also the spinning rotation of my own thoughts.
But isn't that hindsight though? Like you see that now. Yeah. And when you're in it, you just like fire too hot.
It's too hot. I'm trying to get out of here. You know, I'm burning. I'm dying. I'm dehydrated.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, they say trauma attracts trauma, right? And I always tell people, check your baggage at the door. Like when you go into a relationship, you need to know you. Like you need to really know the traumas that you bring into this relationship, because if you don't, it'll be a clash. Pretty much what you and your wife did is like there was a clash. Yeah. When did you know though? Absolutely, without a doubt, it was time to walk away.
When she put me out. When she put me out on my birthday eve, and I looked up at the stars, and I was like, I am outside homeless. I'm leaving. I'm calling my mama. You know what I'm saying? I called my mom. Hey, come get me. Wow. It's a wrap. I can't keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? I can't. It was a stable life, but I didn't like the stability of it. Like when I say stability, I'm talking about consistency. So it was always consistent. Everything was good. Bad, kicked out. You know what I'm saying? Come back. You know, go out to eat. Come back. Live. Kick out. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So the consistency was stable for me, because like, okay, this is how it's gonna work. But I was like, you know what? No, I'm not getting anything from being out here. You know, I'm not happy. I'm not making no money. You know what I'm saying? I was down. I was really down. I just caught a felony. Like I was really down. Like my woman wasn't holding me up. You know what I'm saying? Like it was really bad. So when I didn't decide, I'm just in life and it's happening to me. So when she put me out and I had no other choice but to come home like the prodigal son, I had no other choice. And I think now, thinking back on that subconsciously, I thought that's how my life was supposed to go. Because prodigal son was something that was always taught to me since a child. You know, you get out here, do this riotous living, and then when you find yourself in the slop, you're gonna come back, they're gonna knock that fatted calf out and all that stuff. So I came home, my granny, my mom, my sister, my brother ended up coming home around the same time, my cousin came home. It was something going on in our family where everyone who said they would never come back came back like within days of each other. Like I was there, and then all of a sudden my brother showed up, and then my cousin showed up. I was like, whoa, we are all. Isn't it good to have somewhere to come back to though? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if Granny wasn't here? What if that generation wasn't here? Like, where would we have been? You know. So yeah, I came home, and then I started to really tear into myself. I'm talking about really, because I'm back at the nucleus. I remember sitting at this table, and Granny, you remember you used to always ask me if I got my homework done? And she'd say, yeah. And I'd be like, why didn't you ever come check it? Because I was lying. I almost failed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Well, we just, we was old, so we just took it as, you doing your work, and we sent you to the tutor. Well, you sent me to the tutor. I didn't go. Yeah. I didn't go because I was craving to be caught up. Yeah. That's how you showed that you cared about me. You checked after me. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Denezz is supposed to be at the tutoring. Okay. Let me call and make sure. Is Denezz there?
But the fact that you wanted them there says a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you and I did that demonstration, and you said something that stuck out to me. You talked about your confidence. And so I think that it's very important for women out there to understand, like, okay, this is where my mate is at. And if he's there, I need to at least nurture him in that moment. One time I was driving, and I seen a guy and a lady standing at the light, just standing in the middle, looked like they were ready to cross. And he had a big garbage bag with him. And I thought about that. I was like, wow, she's still with him, even with his garbage bag.
Yep.
He carrying his garbage bag, and she's still with him. I'm not saying that you have to get down low like that with him. I'm just saying the support that she had for him, no matter where he was at in life. Yeah. And I really love women that commend their mates, their males, when they're at that state, like when they're in a tough spot. Like, let me still love them. Let me still show them that I care about them. And I think we don't do that. Women don't do that. Some women, because I'm not going to do a blanket diamond. Yeah. Some women don't do that enough. And I chalk that up to also what you were saying about your wife. Maybe she had something going on. Yeah. So we have to consider that as well.
Well, yeah, because she, like I said, her mother died when she was 9, but she was raised by her father and stepmother. So her father isn't a very emotional person. Right. So she didn't have the emotional intelligence at the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way I am now, I can see both sides. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Back then, it was just like, you just mean. Yeah. Like, why are you being mean to me? You know what I'm saying? Right. But, you said in the beginning, entrepreneur, right? Yeah. Serial entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. That means I failed a lot. You know what I'm saying? That means I failed a lot. To get to the island of success, you have to swim through the ocean of failure. So, my ex-wife, she's seen those failures. In which each failure, I saw her confidence in me lose. Okay. So now, like, by the time I'm getting to these stories, it's just like she ain't got nothing left. She ain't got nothing. Oh my. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this one time for paying this one bill of $200. Okay. Bills are due every month, Denezz. Right. All right. Now, this is what you're supposed to do in life. You know what I'm saying? What you want, a pat on the back for doing what you're supposed to do? You know, like I'm talking about talking harshly. Like what she's saying is real, but the delivery is not getting through. Because now, like you said, I ain't got it. I'm not giving it, and I'm not gonna try to go get it. Right. I'm done. You don't appreciate when I do it. That's because it's something you're supposed to do. So, like, when you have that, you need to have that emotional intelligence, but also have confidence in yourself so that when someone is speaking down to you, it doesn't affect you to its greatest magnitude. And that's where I am now in life. Like, you can talk crazy to me all you want. I know who I am.
Yeah.
And I know what I do.
Right. How did Denezz morph from Denezz to HyphenX?
So HyphenX was born out of necessity.
Okay.
My mom said, "You sound like you got personality disorder when you talk about HyphenX." But HyphenX was created to protect Denezz.
Okay.
In relationships, when I say relationships, I'm talking about romantic, business, all. So HyphenX is, from how I can say now, HyphenX is really the real Denezz.
Okay.
Confident, a little cocky, but humble at the same time. Enjoys people, enjoys speaking. Denezz is the Denezz that he's protecting is shy and uncertain.
Okay.
You know, so HyphenX had to come when I got back out into the workforce.
Okay.
I had to come up with a moniker because I had been so long in that basement. When I say long, Kevin, I'm not talking about 6 months in the basement. I'm talking about 4, 5 years, like in a basement, camouflaging my sadness. You know, people are not knowing what's going on with me.
Yeah.
So, HyphenX is born out of necessity. He was able to express. So that's where the poetry came.
Gotcha.
I started going to open mics. Poetry came. Oh, now I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to rap. Okay, now I'm performing in DeKalb. Okay, HyphenX is out here. Like, this is who I am. So for Denezz to turn into HyphenX is really just morphing back into Denezz. It's all one and the same, but I had to separate the two so I can get to know Hyphen. Because HyphenX stands for Destination Unknown.
Gotcha.
Because we don't know. We have ideas,
right?
But we don't know what's out here. We don't know what's going on. So HyphenX is Destination Unknown, and I'm the pilot of the ship. Denezz is the pilot of that ship. Okay. And so there's no GPS where we at. You know what I'm saying? We're just flying and navigating on the fly.
I like that, creating this alter ego type of thing, moniker, like you said, to be something that you truly are.
Yeah.
But just putting another name to it so you can protect that shy young boy, that sad young boy that once grew up. I can appreciate that. So in all of this though, like, let's just kind of bring it full circle. Like, all of those experiences, all that trauma, how or what gave you the confidence to stop it from going and being passed on to your sons?
Robert Williams, my mentor. Remember I told you they kicked me out the church?
Yeah.
And he told me, you sound like this guy, you need to go talk to Rob. So now keep in mind, Rob would come to church, but he'll be in the back drunk, passed out on the pew. So, but when I got sent to him, one of the most incredible things, it was 2 a.m. I'll never forget. I just got kicked out. 2 a.m. I go over to his house. This is my first time ever coming to his home at 2 a.m. Knock on the door. He comes to the door, gun, boom, right in my face. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was just like, "Well, the pastor sent me here." He said, "At 2 a.m.? I'm like, "Well, I just got kicked out. I need somebody to talk to." I usually would go hit him up, but I remember he told me to come talk to you. He's like, "I got daughters in here. You know what I'm saying? Are you in here trying to rape my daughters and break into my home?"
Wow.
And I said, "No, I'm here to literally just speak to you." And so he was like, "I got a book for you." So he starts to walk off. And these are the most powerful words he's ever said to me. He turned around, looked over his shoulder, and he said, "Are you coming or not? That is your problem. You're expecting someone to bring something to you, but you are at the door. Get in here and come get it." Changed my life. I've taken that with everything. You know, I want to be a successful businessman. Okay, I was working at McDonald's. Why can't I be a successful businessman working at McDonald's? Because a successful businessman is someone who is successfully taking care of his or her business. You know, so I'm at the door of success. I had to get into the home of success. So when I started hanging around with Rob and dealing with him and talking to him, and he was able to speak to me, and I'll tell you what he did with the jerk patty. So we had a turkey burger, and I'm like, what are you gonna do with that? And he was just like, well, I'm thinking about ways to get paid. I just got laid off from my job. I make a great turkey burger. We're gonna sell these turkey burgers today. But first, we're gonna go to the store and get the meat. He showed me a process of picking out turkey meat. We get the meat, we bring it back. He says, this is how a normal person, this is how my mentor taught me how to make the burger. He made the pat, and then he just pours the jerk sauce on top, rubs it on the outside, puts it in the oven. He was like, but through my own experience, this is how I make a burger. He took it, put it in a bowl, poured the sauce in, and massaged it in. Then his wife came down the stairs after we made the burgers. He had her try both of the burgers, and she was able to taste his burger from the original burger.
Right.
And he was like, do you know what the difference was? I was like, well, I mean, you put the sauce on the inside. He's like, attention to detail. I let the sauce go throughout the burger opposed to pouring the sauce just on top of the burger so that you get the flavor while you bite, chew, and then swallow, and then you still have the flavor afterwards. He's like, everything is a 3-step process. We are 3D beings. Everything is a 3-step process. If you can't unlock, untie, and address your issues in 3 steps, then you're not trying hard enough. I was like, all this from a turkey burger. So Rob Williams is a big part of why I am the way I am today. The traumas that I have and had, because trauma is something that doesn't just go away.
No, right.
Right. But I'm able to now check it quickly. I'm able to not lash out, and I'm able to deal with, and exercise the things that I've been taught to deal with my conditioning. Okay. You know what I'm saying? You have to learn how to condition yourself differently. Gotcha. Massage that jerk sauce in so that you can taste it on all levels. So that
does that translate to how you interact with your boys?
Yes. Like, okay, I got one son that's real quiet, but he's mischievous, but he does regular kid things. But then I got the one that's loud and rambunctious.
Gotcha.
So being there for my boys stayed with me. But I raised my boys by myself for like 7 years. And my sons, I speak to them. It's not always do as I say. Why are you making that decision? I need to know why you're making this decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that's a good decision? No? Okay. So this is the consequence. Do you think that's a fair consequence to the decision that you made? And we're talking suspension, schools, whoopings, all that. Put them all in a line. I am not afraid to speak to my sons. I'm not afraid to respect their opinion. But more importantly, I'm not afraid to apologize to my sons.
I like that.
If I've given I remember one time I gave my son an unjust whooping. Let's just be honest. Parents do it all the time. You react. You want them out your face. You know what I'm saying? Don't come here with all that yelling. Da 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 da. Later on, you find out it was something totally different. Hey, son, I can't take away the pain that I caused you, but I do want you to know that I do apologize, and I know that I was wrong. And I saw my son's eyes at that time. He's so big. He was like 5. He was like, "Dang, Dad, you can be wrong. Yeah, I'm a human too.
Yeah,
I'm just been here a little longer than you. That's it.
Right.
We all do wrong. So everything I've been through has led me to understand my child's thought process or my children's thought process and the ability to apologize to them and treat them like people. Because that's what I had to do to learn how to deal with my parents. Because I had to stop looking at them as parents and start looking at them as individuals who have trauma from their own lives, just like me. And I'm so happy that me and my dad were able to actually coexist before he passed, you know. And the last thing I said to him was that, hey Dad, I never hated you. I always loved you. Those were my last words to my dad. And his last words to me was, son, I'm scared. I don't know what's gonna happen. And I told him to take those words with him. HyphenX.
Woo, bro, that's heavy. Man, look, we're gonna do a part 2 because it's so much in that.
It's a lot.
It's like pulling that string of the yarn and or that thread on your clothes and it just unwrap. Man, look, hey, look. We got to get out of here, but I appreciate everything you said. This was deep. This was needed. I love it. But before we go, I always do this at the end, just to kind of have something for the people to hold on to. Like, leave some parting words. Give some advice to some young brother that's trying to, or some young male that's trying to be a father that is dealing with their own traumas and just trying to recreate themselves, or just find this alter ego like HyphenX. Leave some advice for them.
I'm gonna keep it short and I'm gonna keep it sweet. Be who you wish you had when you were younger. This is how you sever traumas. Be who you wish you had when you were younger. If you wish your father was there, be a good father. If you wish your mother was there, be a good mother. If you want your sons to be there, your daughters to be there, show them the examples of being a good son or being a good mother. Be who you wish you had when you were younger.
Man, I appreciate you. Denezz HyphenX Cochran. He came through, he came deep, and I definitely appreciate that. Well, we're going to get out of here, but hey, I will be back. We will be back. So I appreciate y'all listening, and thank you guys for joining another episode of Mentality Unchained. Like I always say, we all have the ability to change our circumstances, only if we focus on what we can change.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Peace.
Man, brother.